Coming up, there's a new device on my desk, and you know what that means. It's time for Tech Time on B2. That's today, and it all starts right now. Greetings and welcome. It's been a while since we did Tech Time, but I think this one's going to be a good one. So, if you know anything about me, then you know that I've been doing TV and video production and multimedia development for a long time. I got my start way back in 1999 in a very humble TV studio up in Raleigh, and things just kind of took off from there. And my math skills aren't what they once were, but I think 1999 and 2000 were a long time ago. And in all that time, I've gotten by with just an ordinary mouse and keyboard, and I've never really had any use for assistive devices, if you will. I mean, the only thing that I've ever bought specifically for this type of work, other than, a lot of technology, is a Wacom tablet. And that was for photo work, because I do a lot of things that require masking out of backgrounds. And it's easier to do that with, one of these than one of these. But I've never really branched out into anything other than that. And gamers everywhere are saying, "You're missing out." Well, maybe they're right. A coworker of mine asked me a while back if I had heard of a company called TourBox and their product, the TourBox. And I had not. So I checked them out, and on the strength of his interest, I decided to get one and try it out myself and see what I was missing, and if I was missing as much as, it seemed like everyone felt like. And certainly, the gamers out there are thinking it's about time you join the rest of us. So let's first take a look at the company and the product. So the product is the TourBox, which, if you're familiar with gaming hardware, is essentially the video editor's version of one of those custom-made keypads that you see gamers using. And it's billed as kind of a productivity enhancer. So if we look at their website, what is TourBox? This is what they say. TourBox Creative Console is dedicated to creative human-computer interaction solutions. TourBox embodies, quote, freedom to create, equality in access, unquote, empowering creators to simplify workflows, focus on art, and embrace a sustainable creative lifestyle. Now, on the face of it, that sounds great. I mean, I've said many times that a poorly designed tool is one that feels like it's getting in the way when you're trying to do something. Looking at you, Illustrator. But anything that is designed to streamline and improve that process, they have a good premise. So I looked at their product line, and at the time, they had 3. Now it looks like they've got 4. They had the TurboBox Elite Plus, did I say TurboBox? TourBox Elite Plus, the TourBox Elite, the TourBox Neo, and the TourBox Lite. And all of these are basically desktop keypads, for lack of they call it a console, I call it a keypad. We could get lost forever in terminology. But it's a device that sits on your desk, and the expectation is that while you're doing your creative stuff with your right hand or with your left hand, because I think this thing would also work if you're left-handed. I am right-handed. You're interacting with the buttons and knobs and everything else on this thing to streamline your process so you're not having to do Control-Z, Control-Y, and all the other things. So, but the one that I got, let's take a look at the one that I got specifically, and we'll see what they say about it before we get to the actual device and start looking at what it does and what the setup entailed. So the one that I got was the TourBox Elite Plus. It's billed as their top tier device, and I thought, if you're going to go in, you might as well go all in, because if the top of the line one is suitable, then good. It says good things about the rest of them, but if it's not, then to avoid maybe the rest of them too. The first thing that leaped out at me was the price tag. $252 US for this thing, and that's not egregious, but for something that's not that big, I'll show you. This is the device, and this is my Switch 2 next to it. So it seems like it's a pretty penny for something that's no larger than it is, but it may well pay for itself by the productivity gains it brings. So I overlooked that. But I looked down, and they've changed it since I bought mine, but I noticed that the connector cable did not come with it, and it was sold separately. Now, the cable, I've actually got it hooked up, but I'll disconnect it to show you. The cable is a USB-C cable with a USB, we'll pretend that didn't happen, with a USB-C to A adapter at one end. So we'll plug that back in, and I mean, I get why they would sell that separately. If you don't need it, you don't need it. But in my case, I've got a ton of USB-C cables, but if you know anything about my life, you know that I have no idea where anything ever ends up. I mean, I cleaned off my desk for this video, and it's the first time I've seen this desktop in a long time. So anyway, the cable was sold separately, and I'm curious what the accessory package is that they're describing. So it looks like it's the connection cable and, at a guess, I would say a carrying case. So, yeah, live and learn. But this is the one I bought. But you see that the description is kind of scant here. They describe it as a Bluetooth controller, so I guess it's got wireless capability, which is good for those that travel a lot. For digital creators, compatible with iPad, Mac, and Windows. In the present day, I don't know how well this is going to age, but in the present day, there's a push to make the iPad and desktop Apple systems use the same OS, so iOS may be going away, but it's discussion for another day. Their description says, single-handed, eye-free control, so pretty much what I described earlier, precise, efficient, and intuitive, I almost said innovative, rotate and zoom in Procreate, seamlessly switch between CSP on iPad and PC, powerful customization system, compatible with all software. So they do a good job selling it, but like I said, the details on the actual capabilities are scant. So I rolled the dice when I bought this thing, and I admit it, because, what's life without risk? So I did the unboxing last night, and I played around with it a little bit, and out of the box, you get the device itself, the cable that I just showed you, a quick start guide, and a safety guide. Pretty standard stuff. I will admit, when I saw the safety guide and the quick start guide in their envelope, it was about the size of an optical disc, and I looked at it and I was like, there is no way that they are shipping software on optical media in 2025, but they weren't. So I just did what I always do. I plugged and played and turned on cameras to capture the action from all angles, and I tried it out. There was some audio issues, so I wound up not doing that part of the video, but the benefit was I got a little bit of flight experience with this thing before I started to talk about it. So the setup was fairly straightforward. I mean, open box, remove components, connect components, download software, move on. I did have to download the TourBox console software, and there was also a firmware update that I had to install before I could actually use it. So nothing out of the ordinary. I mean, you get that with pretty much every device that you buy. The setup was, all that is to say, the setup was very easy and straightforward. So this is the TourBox console software. So let's take a look at this, because when I saw this at first, I didn't quite know what to make of it, but I get it now. So what you're seeing is, first down here in the corner, you have basically a virtual D-pad. And what this is telling you is, for whatever software is running, and this does auto-detect what you're using, but for whatever software you're using, these are context-specific controls. And the console window that you see here in the middle of my screen is the configuration pack that's loaded. There are presets for a lot of different programs. So let's just go through. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go through some of the software that this thing works with out of the box, and then we'll talk about some things that I discovered while I was trying to use it, and then I'll show you what it actually looks like in action. So I will also preface this by saying, if you've used Wacom software and you know how their tablet software works, it too has program-specific controls that you can set. So like, for instance, with this stylus, when I'm using Photoshop, the button here is configured to do a right click. This left click is designed to simulate a spacebar press so I can move my canvas around. The eraser is designed to be an eraser so that I can mask things out, and so on. And it does different things in Illustrator. I don't have anything set up for Premiere or After Effects. I probably should, but that is a discussion for another day. So in the same manner, the TourBox console detects what creative software you have running and automatically loads a set of presets, I should say, specific to that app. So out of the box, it supports Photoshop, Lightroom Classic, Premiere with 2 workflows, one for editing and one for color grading, Capture One, Clip Studio Paint, I guess that's what CSP was referring to earlier, Paint Tool Sci 2.0, DaVinci Resolve, CapCut, Toon Boom Harmony, words I did not expect to say when I got up this morning, and Avid Media Composer. And I'm still getting to know this software, but I'm guessing that you can, so you can create new presets as you integrate it with other software. So I have not tried that yet. You'll notice that Adobe After Effects is missing, as is Illustrator, and from my workflow, there's also nothing for Poser. Now, it remains to be seen how well this will integrate with those other programs, which I'll try in the future, and you'll probably see a pinned comment below this video that describes what that experience is once I try it. But for right now, I was just focusing on the out-of-the-box experience. So below that, you have a button map of this device, and it's very interesting to me how they describe some of these things so that you can distinguish one from the other. So on the device face itself, you have the scroll, which I found out you can push, the side button, the tour button, this little crescent thing, the knob, which you can push, the top button, C1 and C2, the tall button, the short, you can't make this up, the tall button, the short button, the D-pad, up, down, left, and right, and the dial, which you can also press, along with the side button. Maybe I mentioned that twice, but that's beside the point. So that's what Andrew Cuppers would call the buttonology of this thing. Is it ergonomic? I would say it is ambitious, but it doesn't quite fit how I would, in my mind, it doesn't fit quite how I would envision. I'm envisioning something like those old Logitech mice, something like this that, that fits into the palm of your hand, and it kind of, it directs your fingers to where the controls are. This, I'm not saying it's poorly designed. I mean, the design is very elegant, but it's kind of like when you start driving a stick shift car if you were raised on automatics. You have to look at it and learn. And I'm reminded of when I started typing. Miss Quarles was always harping about, Brandon, stop looking at the keyboard. I feel like there's going to be a little bit of that here, that I'm going to have to look at it in order to determine what is doing what, where my fingers need to be to do what I need to do. And part of that, I'm looking at the preset that was loaded for Photoshop. So, like any other program, what functions and features you use is going to be determined by what your workflow is. So you saw what they did with Premiere earlier. There's one for editing and one for color grading. For After Effects, I have 3 different workflows. There's one for building motion graphics, there's one for doing visual effects, and there's one for just ordinary routine stuff like adding title cards and stuff. And all of it is optimized for what makes sense to me and what's intuitive to me. Just like every other editor out there kind of customizes their workspace layout and everything else to suit their preferences and their workflow. So don't let the presets that come out of the box be a limiting factor. I haven't experimented with changing them yet, but the software looks like it supports changes very, very easily. So whether it does or not, we will find out. But let's take a look now at what exactly loads for Photoshop out of the box. So the knob, which, all right, is the one in the middle, increases or decreases the brush size, which makes sense. There's nothing configured for a knob press. The scroll up and down, zoom. So that's like if you control and scroll wheel on the mouse wheel, if you press it, it reduces magnification or increases so that your content fits on the screen. The dial adjusts the selected parameter, so that's clearly context specific. The side, top, tall, and short buttons are mapped to key presses, which makes sense. The kit section, I love how they name these things. The kit section, up gives you the eraser, down gives you stamp tools, left gives you healing tools, right gives you brush tools. Now C1 and C2, undo and redo. With my workflow, those are what I would probably use the most. And there's a custom section, which I'm not really going to worry about. And you can create actions here too. So let's see. I tell you what, I want to do two things. I want to load up an image in Photoshop. No, I want to load up first. I want to load up a timeline in Premiere. And you see what it just did. It just switched automatically to the Premiere preset. So let's take a look. While Resurrection loads in the background, let's take a look at what it did. So we have move selection page up and down, zoom out, zoom in, zoom to sequence, move the timeline pointer, variable speed, the selection tool, previous edit point, an alt press. The short button is play. Interesting. The tour button switches preset. I don't know what that means, but I guess we will find out. And the rest of this looks like pretty standard fare. So at a guess, I would say what they did was they watched someone while they were editing and set this up based on what the editor was actually doing. So with that said, let's have a look at it. This is the timeline for the current version of Resurrection Remastered. So I'm just going to experiment with the D-pad controls first. Mark in. Okay. Mark out. Fair. Clear in and out. All right. Razor tool. Okay, so some things... Which one is undo? All right, that's undo. So what about... Okay. What about... Okay, I like this. I really do like this. I don't know if you can hear this on the mic, but listen to this. This dial sounds like an old mechanical hard drive spinning. I mean, it is spinning and it is mechanical, so I guess that makes a certain amount of sense, but as I fiddle with my mic, but I mean, it's just the funniest sound. My speaker is muted, so you can't hear the program audio from Resurrection Remastered, but I think I see what they were going for. So let's see what else is loaded here. So go to... Is there next edit point? No, just previous. So... Ooh! I thought I saw the D-pad change there for a second. So, but I do like that you can scrub like this. That noise is gonna... I'm sorry. That noise is gonna take some getting used to. But it does seem... I wonder how much of this is... Okay. Okay, so everything is context specific. I made an assumption here. I thought that it, like if we turn the knob, say, that it would automatically scroll one window or, switch to the content bin and, never mind what I thought. I was wrong. So you do have to manually switch from, one part of your program window to another in order for different functions to activate. But, I mean, that in itself isn't that bad. What else have we got here? Move timeline pointer. I don't think Alt does anything by itself. Let's see. Clear in and out, we did that. So this is one of those things where, based on my workflow, a lot of what I do in Premiere is very basic. I lean heavily on After Effects for a lot of what I do, and so I don't see this playing a big role in my Premiere work. I mean, granted, the the undo and redo function alone stand to save me at least a little bit of time, but I don't really see that that's a significant enough time gain by itself to justify incorporating this. It's not bad, don't get me wrong, but it's just not something that I missed beforehand. So let's close this out and let's go to Photoshop and let's have a look if it'll load. But let's have a look at how this functions in Photoshop. Since that's the first set of presets that came up, let's have a look at what Photoshop does with it. So anyone who knows me will know that this little red Camaro is a big part of my life, and you will understand why I have a folder of photos dedicated to just photos of the car. So let's just pick one. Let's pick this random one from August 7th, 2022, taken at 1:30 in the afternoon. We will open Photoshop and we will see what there is to see. All right, so this was taken on a sunny day. It's a raw photo. It was taken with a cell phone, and I know the photographers in the audience are going to want to scream and holler at me about how I go about this, but this is just for demonstration purposes. So this is what my normal workflow would be. Decrease all the highlights, increase the basic color saturation, and then work on the other things from there. So normally I would click this slider and drag it left, but let's see if I select it. Okay, so the highlights are all down now. That was August 7th was apparently a very lovely day. Okay, so the scroll moves the window up and down. All right. That doesn't look unnatural at all with plus 70 saturation. Let's see. One thing that always gets me about photos like this is if you look at the grass, it looks green, but you'd be surprised at how yellow it actually is. So I'm going to dial down the yellow and just leave the green, and voila. So there's what we started with, and there's what we ended with. So, all right, I could tinker with the color and brightness on this. Let's dial up the exposure just a little bit. All right. Now, like I said, I know I'm going to have people screaming at me over how terrible this photo looks. Normally, I would do a lot more tinkering, but just on its own merits, I actually kind of like how the red of the car stands out against the greens and blues around it. Because you see, the red of the paint job stands out against the blue sky that's reflected in the glass, the silver of my Maxima next to it, and the green of the trees and the other cars around it. So from a strict color balance perspective, I kind of like this. This is way over the top compared to what I would normally do, but what's the point of having access to a tool like this if you can't have at least a little fun? So, all right. So now we've opened our raw photo in Photoshop. So that we don't destroy anything, let's add a layer mask, and then we'll select the eraser, and I'll zoom in. So hypothetically, let's say that I was going to mask out the car. It wouldn't really work because the curb is covering up the bottom of the tires, but just hypothetically, let's say I wanted to isolate the car. Here is what my normal process would be. I would start by doing a garbage mask like this, which I think of as kind of the big part, so I can really isolate the car. And I might use the lasso tool to get rid of the rest of the photo, but we'll skip that this time because it's just for demonstration purposes. So we go back to, and you see it was more intuitive for me just to hit the E key to go back to the eraser than to hit the up key on the D-pad. So now let's see. Okay, so I can change the eraser size with the knob here. Is this the knob or the dial? No, it's the knob. The dial is this big thing that sounds like a hard drive. So I will, if I were going to parent a button to one of the buttons on the device, it would probably be the X key. And what X does is it inverts the mask so that I can bring something back if I decide I need it. That's why I prefer doing things with a layer mask than painting out parts of the photo itself. But let's just see. So, actually, I forgot another part of my usual workflow, which would be to have a layer below it of a very dissimilar color so I can see how well the masking is. Because the idea is, if you're going to mask something out, you want it to be able to look clean against any kind of background. So, I pick a light background and see how it looks against a light background, then I swap that for a dark background and all that good stuff. So that's why I just added the light blue background. And so now I will take, I'm not going to sit here and make you watch while I mask out this whole car, but I do want to do at least a few key areas just so we can see. I feel like Bob Ross here. Happy little trees. And all right, so here's a dark area. So I will zoom in. Now that was intuitive, doing the scroll wheel. And full disclosure, this is one of the things that I'm used to doing with a Wacom tablet. So my technique with the mouse is terrible, but for demonstration purposes, it will suffice. So, all right. So here, all right. So you can see that I've now masked out the two areas, and what I would normally do now would be to save early, save often. So that'd be another thing that I would want to parent to one of these buttons, probably the side one, Control S. But let's see. All right, so we're fortunate in this case that all of the edges are fairly well defined. The Samsung Note 24 takes or the Samsung Note 20 rather, which is what I had when I took this. I've got the 24 now. It's actually back there recording the wide shot. But the Note series takes a very crisp image, so there are no real soft edges. But hypothetically, let's say that we did have an area that got soft focused for some reason, and I needed to change the hardness of the edge of the eraser. And it looks like, okay, so it looks like that. Okay, so you have to select it, and then you can use the scroll to make whatever change you need, but it does not select it automatically, which A little disappointing, but all right, so that's really all there is to that. And you can see what the workflow would be from here. Just continue to mask things out. I would probably miss this area right here because you've got the reflection of the sky above it, but that's a discussion for another day. So I would continue, and I can easily see wanting to have, like I said, a save and an X function parented to this, so I could switch between mask types and save as I go. So let's just see what else is here. Eraser, stamp, heal, brush tools. Let's see if brush tools works with, okay, so it doesn't. I was going to see if the brush tools would bring up the context menu for the eraser, but it does not. So, all right. So what do we think of the TourBox Elite overall? Like so much else, it's not the tool itself, it's how you use it. And like I said, I have never incorporated what we'll call an assistive device like this into my workflow in the past. It's not necessarily that it doesn't add value, it's just it doesn't fill an established need. The buttonology, I'm going to have to pay Andrew Cuppers royalties every time I use that term, but the buttonology on this thing is clearly designed to give you a lot of flexibility. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, 13, 14 buttons on this thing, and they allow you through the console software to put whatever function you need on whatever button or slider or whatever else on this thing that you might want it. So they let you make it work for you. So I would say that while this doesn't fill a pre-existing need, I could see it adding value in terms of things like switching masks or, offering a quick way to save when I need to. Excuse me. It's just a matter of getting used to it. Like I said earlier, when you've grown up driving a car with an automatic transmission, it's a bit of a paradigm shift when you want to drive something that is a manual. There's benefits to that, and I'm a Camaro owner, so trust me, I know what everyone out there is thinking. And it applies here too, though. It's a learning curve. Now, like anything else, like the Wacom I mentioned earlier, it took some doing to figure out how to integrate it into my greater workflow. I've had that same experience before with, I don't know if anyone out there is familiar with Lilliput touch monitors, but I've used one of those too. That one had a high learning curve too. At least it did for my young self, but I could see this adding value. Do I think it's going to be worth the purchase price for everyone? No. But as with so much else, it depends on what your workflow is and how comfortable you are doing things with the mouse and keyboard. If you want more flexibility, if you want, another way to interact with your software, this could add value. If you're fine with the mouse and keyboard, then you're fine with the mouse and keyboard. I would be happier, honestly, if this had a preset pack out of the box for After Effects, because that's where I do the bulk of my work, and anybody who knows anything about me will tell you I spend way too much of my time with Adobe After Effects. But from that perspective, I am disappointed that there isn't a preset pack for After Effects out of the box. So it may be that I'll just have to build one. I'll have to go through it and see what everything involves as far as building presets and building a preset pack, and we'll just see. Maybe they've got them available for download. Don't know. I feel like I'm channeling the critical drinker there. What's the story on that? Don't know. So it is interesting. Final word, it is an interesting product. And I'm not going to discourage anybody from getting one of these and trying it out. If you like experimenting with technology, if you're comfortable with the workflow that you have, it's worth it to at least give it a try. And the fact that this is designed as a Bluetooth device instead of, wired like I've got it, means that they are thinking about travelers in mind. And I do think that if you travel a lot, That's where this is really going to add value, because I'm thinking about all the times that I've been on a plane and it's just been me and my tray table and usually my Surface, but sometimes my Switch, because, gotta have a variety. And I've wanted to do something, but I couldn't because, elbow room, and if you know anything about the Surfaces, their type covers, their keyboards are a little bit limited. So this being as compact as it is a mark in its favor. And like I said, for anyone who travels, that's where I think this will add the most value. For people like me that are in fixed locations, that do all of our work from the comfort of an expansive desk, I can't see this being, a make or break thing. So that said, I do think TourBox designed a good product. I had never heard of this company before Andrew brought it up to me, and it's, to quote Spock, there are always possibilities. That's what I'll say. There are always possibilities. So, Andrew, if you're out there, thank you for recommending this. I will keep using it, and we will see what becomes of it in terms of my workflow. But that's all for now. I appreciate everybody watching. As always, we'll be back with more soon. For those that are wanting me to get back to Resurrection, we'll get back to Resurrection soon. For now, this is Brandon Bridges reminding you the best way to be is B squared. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Brendan is a fool. La 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 la.